Check it out. It's Blind Guy Story Time.
It's time for the Blind Guy Show, where this blind guy talks about everything and anything, blind related, and much more. He is here to educate, so you don't have to speculate. So, buckle up and join him on this crazy journey. In 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Greg, and this is The Blind Guy Show. So let's talk about a time that I got lost or disoriented in a parking lot. Alright, so this story takes place about 6 months into my blindness. I was about halfway through my orientation mobility training, and I decided to go out for a walk. Not just any walk, but a walk by myself for the first time as a blind person. I think it was about mid-June. The weather was nice. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I just wanted to get out of the house and be independent for a little while without my wife, without the kids around. So I went for it. So I walked down my street and took a right on the main thoroughfare, and there aren't any sidewalks right here in my immediate vicinity, so I have to walk about 3 blocks in order to get to sidewalks. So I'm cruising down the sidewalk, and I go across a bridge and down some steps. Yeah, I know, that's kind of weird, right? Steps built into the sidewalk. But anyway, I'm tooling down the sidewalk. I'm finding the grass on the right, finding the edge of the sidewalk and driveways, and I'm cruising right along at a pretty good clip. I would say I was probably about a half a mile from my house, and I know the area pretty well, so I had a general idea of where I was. So anyway, I'm cruising down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden, I lose the right-hand edge of the sidewalk. Now, I could assume that I was either in a driveway or a parking lot. If I was in a driveway, I could just keep going straight, and I would find the edge of the driveway in the grass, and then I could move back to the left and find the sidewalk and continue on my way. But this time, I couldn't find the edge of the grass anywhere, so I stopped and I swung my cane out all the way around in probably about a 360-degree circle to see if I could find any edges of the sidewalk, the blacktop, grass, anything, and nothing. And this is when panic set in just a little bit. Keep in mind, I'm only about halfway through my O&M skill training, and it's a Sunday afternoon. There's no one else out on the sidewalks. There aren't even any cars driving up and down the street. So I started to sweat a little bit, and my heart started racing. I'll admit it. After a couple seconds, I guess I did collect myself and try to think clearly, but here I am in probably the middle of a parking lot with no idea how to handle this, and I did not want to have to call my wife and have her come get me. That would have just defeated me. So what did I do, you might ask? Well, I stopped and I listened. And I tried to determine what direction the sun was coming from, but I was in the shade, so I guess that didn't work. The street I was on runs east to west, west to east, and I was headed eastbound. To the north, the highway runs through the same direction, east to west, and that was the first thing that I listened for. What direction is the highway? Sadly, the highway was quite quiet on a Sunday afternoon, but there was some traffic, so I could get somewhat of a bearing. Now, I figured that I hadn't veered to the left into the street because I didn't feel a curb cut and I didn't feel any grass, or I didn't drop my cane down a curb. So I was pretty sure that I was off to the right-hand side of the sidewalk in the parking lot of, I think it's a ski shop. So I pulled out my iPhone and opened up the Compass app and figured out what direction I was facing and figured out what direction was north. So once I found north, I headed in that direction. Here's where it gets a little bit crazier, because I headed in the direction of north, and now I didn't feel a curb cut, I didn't go over the edge of a curb, and I didn't feel any grass. I then heard a car approaching from my left, and apparently I was like in the middle of the street. So, I turned around and hightailed it back, and I actually found the curb cut this time. And I was back on the sidewalk in a second. So I pulled my phone back out and checked the compass again, and I headed west in the direction of my house because at that point I had had enough. So all in all, I think I handled myself pretty well. I mean, I was new to traveling independently. I was new to walking around my neighborhood, and I was freaked out. I will admit it. I was a little freaked. And I collected myself. I used my O&M skills, and I got myself back to the sidewalk and home safely in one piece. I don't really remember my wife's reaction, but I don't think she was too pleased. She was pleased that I made it home, but not pleased that I had gotten lost. I think I met with my O&M instructor the next week. When I explained to him what had happened, he actually agreed and said that I did a pretty good job collecting myself and finding my way back to where I was on the sidewalk and making my way home. So, I mean, that was a confidence booster. All of that anxiety and panic that I felt in that parking lot, and I was a good ways in. I was probably 10 steps in that parking lot, so I was pretty proud of myself at that point. So this little story of mine, this little excursion that got me lost, is testimony to getting your O&M training, getting cane training, and getting out there and going for walks and traveling independently. It will do wonders for your self-esteem and confidence, even if you do get lost, as long as you correct yourself. Now, had the circumstances been different and someone had been walking by, I could have asked for help, but it just didn't work out that way. So I had to, keep my wits about me. So down in the comments, let me know your craziest orientation and mobility mishaps. And let me know what you think about the way I handled this situation or what you would have done differently. On your way out, consider slapping that like button and subscribing to the channel. My name is Greg. This has been The Blind Guy Show, and I will see you next week. Peace.